How did you two meet?
I think, Ben and I have always been in similar industries and have always supported one another from afar and had great conversations and meeting of the minds of how to really support one another. We always I think Ben always says, it's always right when you left that company, I almost ended up working there. So I feel like we almost crossed paths multiple times. And maybe you could hear Ben's side of the story, but, I basically, every event that I had, he was there and he, was telling me, we would meet after almost every event and then, really gave me some great insight. And I thought what a great opportunity to partner with someone to really amplify and really build something that, can just be built across not just one city, multiple cities and state and beyond. So it's great to find, your yin to the yang to really build bigger, better, and create impact and have more fun.
Right. 100%. It's just really fascinating because I haven't really known anyone else that has the exact same mix of background that I have. Both Michelle and I come from the music and media and entertainment space, and both of us pivoted into economic development. I don't know anyone else beside us who's had that same career trajectory. And at the same time, we've had multiple mutual friends that have said, hey, you should meet Michelle. Hey, you know who you should meet? Ben. And, it was just a matter of time. And eventually we did.
That's awesome.
We are so grateful to be supported by these community champions: Sales MD, Team Friday, Realist Lab, Kiana Patterson, Diego Chavez, Jer Boucher, Heather Ryder, Janine Sua, Lily Roca, and Steve Kernan.
Hola, hello, hi, bienvenido, welcome back, or maybe welcome to, for the first time, Entrepreneurial Thinkers. As you may or may not know, this is the show where I get the absolute privilege to have weekly conversations with some of the best and brightest entrepreneurial thinkers, I call them, across all sectors and segments of society and industry as we come together to try to leave the world a little bit better than we found it, which frankly, I'm about to tell you who we're going to talk to today. That is really their mission, is to try and come together to try to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. So I'm super grateful to be joined by Michelle Edgar and Ben Reiss, co-founders of the Community Collective right here in Los Angeles today. And let me tell you a little bit about them before we welcome them into the show. Ideally, this conversation today is bringing together two people who, in my humble opinion, are operating at the civic intersection of where our collective culture, business, and communities collide. I suspect that what we're going to discuss today through an LA lens is actually just as applicable to community builders and civic leaders in any city or country in the world that you might be listening to or watching this. Let me tell you a little bit about Michelle, who I just had the pleasure of meeting for the first time today. She's a dynamic professional and another in the long line of Northwestern University grads that have guested this show, and UCLA Bruins. So I'm super excited to welcome her to that long lineage of former Northwestern Wildcats. She's a multi-hyphenate that they might say in today's social lexicon has built a career at the intersection of marketing, talent, and social impact. From leading partnerships for artists and global brands in the music and events industry to launching initiatives that fund music education and civic programs locally, she's really someone who sees culture and conversation not just as entertainment, but as a force for change. Ben, who is a good friend, is a consummate relationship professional. I would say he's like a man after my own heart, the way that he treats relationships similarly to I. He has spent more than 2 decades discovering and nurturing the partnership relationships that shape media, entertainment, and civic organizations here in Los Angeles, from hologram performances and digital series to major alliances with companies like TikTok, Netflix, and the Universal Music Group. I'd argue that he is, like Michelle, an entrepreneurial thinker who understands how culture becomes business and really how to turn ideas and people into ecosystems. So together now, as founders of the Community Collective, they're building something that's bigger than a company. I see it as a conversational platform that connects creators, innovators, entrepreneurs, and civic leaders to really shape the future of our creative economy and our broader economy here in Los Angeles. And they're going to tell us what they think about it. But today, ideally, we're exploring how communities can shape what they become and how those relationships get formed. So, hey guys, welcome to Entrepreneurial Thinkers, you two. It's great to share this conversation.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Super excited to have you. All right, I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to ask you the first question. Michelle, maybe you can take the lead with it for a bit. And then Ben, obviously add in any commentary that you'd like. But First things first, before we get into all the details, why is an association, Michelle, like the Community Collective necessary in today's world?
Well, I think, we want to work with people like-minded in our community, and it's that easy. I think the power is in bringing together public and private partnerships to propel partnership forward and to have those critical conversations. So I look at it from the heartbeat of a community. What are the businesses? Who are the people? Who's really there and what are the needs? So quite frankly, I started Community Collective a little over 3 years ago when I joined the Santa Monica Arts Commission. And I just graduated from law school, and I wanted to really bring together like-minded to help partner and do great things together in our city. And we're very topical and intentional about what the topics are. We want to make sure there's a wide range of, not just what's happening in a city like Santa Monica, downtown LA, or Long Beach, but across music, technology, sport, entertainment, rebuilding, critical conversations, how to make our city better. I think, it's a moment in time, and these types of organizations and like-minded people need to come together to help move things forward. So that was the start of it. And when I heard about Ben and his interests and his expertise, we were the perfect sort of combination to really help amplify this across the city. Me on the west side, downtown, to Ben in Beverly Hills, and just sometimes it takes two to really multiply and amplify what we're doing. So grateful to have him as a business partner.
Absolutely. No, it feels, from everything I've seen when I followed you guys, it definitely gives like a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of vibe, which is great. So Ben, just to give you a second here, like what would you add to that? What would you add to the kind of the why a Community Collective is so valuable today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just, want to say that it's just really, been inspiring seeing what Michelle started and where the direction that it was headed. And, when we decided to team up, I realized that nothing had ever been done like this before. There had always been business associations that, they have tight relationships with electeds and, different advocacy groups, but there wasn't a lot of the next gen of companies, be it the intersection of media, entertainment, technology, sports, and so on, really engaging with any of those associations. That's not something that they normally do. Yeah. You would normally see real estate companies, finance, Main Street USA block businesses as being like the cornerstone of any business advocacy group, but not really the innovative or creative economies. And so we really fill that gap between the next gen and everything that's future forward about where our economies are headed.
I love that. Michelle, I was looking at your resume as I was prepping for this, kind of looking at the background, the history, the story. And you've spent not just as like an arts commissioner in Santa Monica, but you've spent a lot of your career in music and the arts. And so I'm curious, like in this kind of increasingly digital world that we live in, right? Where we're having this conversation digitally via these technologies. Why are those two anchors of culture, like the music and arts, why are those still so fundamentally important to the fabric of any community?
Well, I think, it really lays an impact and legacy and shapes a city ecosystem. So I think it really is a source of inspiration, and the fusion of it is coming together even more so. So I think it's something that continuously needs to be thought of as, sort of the roots of a community, really sets it apart, brings it back to the people, to engage in all facets of the arts and the underlying technology advancement. It's changing so quickly. So how do we advance with it? I mean, look at one of the biggest businesses in Santa Monica, Snap. It's in our backyard. I mean, that's a perfect example of, a company at the forefront, and it's the biggest employers in the whole city. So that's just one great example. Look what's happening in Long Beach. Even in their expertise, I think, everything is AI and technology integration, Culver City as well. So, what how can arts and culture, especially with what's on the horizon with all the global sporting events, what's the legacy that's left behind and shapes the city ecosystem. So I think, we're going to be seeing more of that. Ben and I attended a Downtown Alliance event earlier last week and saw a fabulous story about, two fabulous entrepreneurs who started Dataland and what they're creating tied to nature with opening offices right across from the LA Phil. So I think that's a perfect example of, just thinking of what's happening. And there's a lot around Metro, what we're going to be seeing, as well as the incredible, evolution of museums. We have some fun ones that are about to open, and the Broad is under, some great construction, LACMA as well, that just recently. So I'm excited to see what, happens as these great, global sporting moments, and our city is going to be on center stage.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correct, right, the music and arts kind of endure no matter what moment we're at, no matter how our technologies or our systems or our corporations evolve, the music and the arts kind of just evolve with them.
Because it's a community engagement. Yeah. Everybody wants to participate and, be part of that.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, let's talk relationships for a second if we can, right? Tell me kind of how the community collective goes about curating relationships. Like you and I've been around for a long time. We've seen how relationships evolve. We've seen how professional relationship development happens. And while things change, a lot stays the same, frankly, just good human fundamentals, right? So talk to me kind of in this 2026 world, how you're seeing in the engagements through Community Collective, how you're seeing kind of relationship development either return to its roots or, branch off in all kinds of exciting new ways.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Chisos Capital. Everyone knows that raising capital is hard. And frankly, finding the next pool of entrepreneurs to get access to as limited investors is sometimes impossible too. Do you have a big idea, a dream you're building, but you're struggling to find early funding? Well, Chisos is changing the game for founders, creators, athletes, and investors. Whether you're launching a startup, growing your creative brand, or training for the big leagues, Chisos backs you. Chisos uniquely invests up to $100,000 in people, not just products, whether they be entrepreneurs, creators, or even athletes. With their unique CISA model, convertible income share agreements, founders get flexible funding without giving up equity or ownership, and investors get attractive returns and great upside with less risk. Chisos works for both investors and the people bringing our world to life. If you're seeking access to a truly diverse pool of deals, or you're someone who feels overlooked by the VC game, Chisos is ready to back you. So apply now at chisos.io.
Yeah, I think it's really been interesting. Both Michelle and I have fluctuated across different careers and different industries. And so, relationships, they wax and wane. There are some times where you have these deep friendships and you've worked with someone for a long time, or maybe someone's been a client or a partner, and then you suddenly shift into a new role or a new company, and there's less for you to relate on multiple levels like you used to. That is happening more and more as AI is changing workforce development, and also the next generation coming up. Coming from the bids in West Hollywood, then to the LA Chamber, and then shifting back into the private sector, it took me a while to find out, okay, well, who's my new community now? Because there are now all these other people getting invested in the community, and where am I going to find a seat at the table? So that's, I would advise just to be like water. Just keep searching, and the water will find all the cracks that it can go into.
I love that. Speaking of being like water, being adaptable, being flexible, being interrelated, Michelle, I'm curious, like I've watched these last couple of months since we started trying to arrange this little visit today. And I see the rooms that you guys are sitting in. I see the rooms, Michelle, literally, I see you on stage in these photos and these videos. And you're sitting oftentimes next to creatives, business executives, CEOs, investors, elected officials, et cetera. Give me kind of the case behind why those different constituencies really need each other today, maybe even more than they think they do.
Well, I think if we want to see change, you need to be in those rooms and have those conversations, from the elected to business partnerships to, uh, fun, funding new models, new systems. So a lot of businesses want to be part. So it's just a matter of how do we have those conversations. Look, as we're in the moment of time, I really admire what Mr. Rick Caruso has done with Steadfast, and that really influenced my sort of career pivot into the insurance space of, creating Steadfast to really help expedite the rebuild and find solutions to rebuild a city and multiple cities now. So I think that you're seeing that from Samara to, no different about how the Olympics and ways that commercial partners will engage with the city and what's left behind. So I think we're at a critical time in this moment. We're in election year, that these conversations need to be had. So you need to really listen. And that's what I think has been, not only am I a community builder, but I like to listen through, people that are really impacting the change. What do they need? Who are they looking to link with? And I guess that's my secret power of putting those pieces together, having unusual conversations, really showcasing the people that are going to move the change forward and show that we're open for business. And what are those problems? What are the solutions? So we, Ben and I are very strategic in that problem solution, and people being like, wow, that really is helping change the game. And we're really looking at who are those folks who, might be unexpected or might be unexpected together on a panel versus just the traditional, because they're great, silo organizations,
Right.
but how do you kind of pull the best thought leaders, or the ones that really should be at the table to have that to move it forward?
Love it. I'm curious, Michelle, because again, all props, like you started this baby before Ben came along, and now you guys are accelerating it together, which is awesome. I'm curious, like back in that original thinking in your mind, like what was the gap in the local community, or, people loved you, ecosystem, right? What was the gap that made you feel like, man, I think there's a hole here that I could fill, right? And I think what I'm going to fill that with is this thing called the community collective. Like, what gap did you see back then?
I saw, across different disciplines and industries, and quite frankly, my interests. And I joke with Ben a lot. I track streets. So I track economic development. That's why I'm really grateful for our partnership with LADC. They partnered with us on the last, 3-4 events. I don't think there's been one in the last year that they haven't partnered with us, but I love those, data analytics that Stephen Chang and the team develop. And then I like to build around that. So I didn't see something where, you could kind of build the ecosystem together and then also bring the thought leaders across those industries in a room with the officials, with sort of like speaking to the city, knowing what people are trying to solve or create opportunities. So I really wanted it to be the place that, once a month, it's going to be really high quality conversation, high quality curation, and business gets done on a serious level. I just heard from, a former mayor of our city that a really critical partnership got done just from our 1 year. We're celebrating the Women's History Month event, and it's just been it's going through city council right now, and it all happened at our event. So that makes me really happy, because I think it's efficiency, but people who really care. So they're really invested, and, people take advantage of that, moment to really do business. No different than, why Ben and I. So I don't think Ben missed an event. That's why he's my business partner. So, it's wonderful when you find that place where you really get fed and know that, it works for you. There's a lot of great things out there. So it's just a matter of what spoke to you. And I wanted to make sure this, touched on a broad range of topics, industries, businesses, but always had the best in class or the most insightful, unusual panel.
That's awesome. And I kudos to you for seeing that hole in the community.
Seat at the table. We all need a seat at the table.
That's right. And I say I use that phrase a lot in this show and other contexts. And I often say, and sometimes if there isn't a seat at that table, then it's time to build a different table. Right.
Yeah. Ben and I are ready to sponsor the more intimate seat at the table. So that's what we really hope to do, to really have those private conversations that really move the needle in a more intimate setting.
Right. There's nothing more powerful than conversation to action. Right. So I'm super excited.
But that's one thing to add, Rob, I'm in the streets. I'm in the Palisades since I had this pivot and inspiration from public-private, watching Mr. Caruso and, working for my current boss. I've been in those conversations of what is affecting an entire community as they rebuild. So I think that's the magic of what we need, and every city needs that.
Yeah, no, totally great. Ben, do me a favor. I was looking at the website, right? When I go to the website for the Community Collective, which by the way is beautiful and very detailed, lots of information. But I'm clicking around and I see memberships and I see events and I see all these different things. And, someone could read that and think are these guys an agency? But they say association. So do me a favor, let's take a beat. I've got 3 or 4 kind of rapid fire questions that I'll ask both of you, but let's start with Ben. Tell us a little bit, what's the business model of the collective? Super basic, how does the collective make money? I mean, you don't have to spill any private business secrets here, but give us a sense of this thing, but how does it exist?
We're a business association. We have memberships and we have sponsorships. We would love any kind of corporate sponsor that sees a lot of value in us, from workforce development to economic development to just a community engagement. Want to sponsor us for a whole year? That's fantastic. But otherwise, we also have fantastic partners that have been working with us, like Verizon, and this next one in mobility with BMW, Metropolis. Companies that really want to plant a stake in the ground and say, we're here and we have something to contribute.
That's awesome. Is there, of the many things that you guys are, obviously the two of you and then partners are collectively capable of, are there a couple? It sounds like events, these conversations. Are there a couple that you want to highlight now that we say these are the 2 or 3 things that in 2026 and 2027 we're really trying to focus on delivering?
Yeah, Michelle, go ahead.
I'm about to jump out of my seat. We literally have 3 events in the next 2 weeks. So, next Tuesday, it's our 2nd year of celebrating and honoring, women at the forefront. And I thought it was a critical time to showcase the power of partnership through Tracy Park, councilwoman, together with Lana Negretti, former mayor, of what they've done collectively to really help rebuild how Palisades and Santa Monica are working, and then from a city ecosystem with Veronica from LA EDC. So I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation. We have over 100 amazing attendees for that. And then looking at one of the next big things to celebrate in Santa Monica, Route 66. It ends here in Santa Monica. So Ben will be moderating, and really excited to partner and have Misty, who runs Santa Monica Tourism and Travel, Peter James from the city of Santa Monica, among other, executives, from BMW's Design Works, Julia, and the rest of the guests. So really excited for that. And then getting ready for FIFA World Cup. So we have something really exciting that we've been working for months now on with the state treasury. So very honored to have the opportunity. And I think that really we're talking to them about really understanding what's happening across our states. So to have the privilege to partner with the state treasury, we're going to create a really interesting kickoff conversation this June. So those are, some of the most immediate in the next few months, but we've mapped out the full year. But we really also want to customize and continue some really powerful discussions, like our series with Gensler around the revitalization of downtown. So that's going to be a consistent quarterly event series, and hopefully have some more intimate seat at the table type conversations that can turn into a regular series. So we're busy, but I think there's a lot to celebrate here. We're moving into the South Bay too. That's also one that I'm really excited about. That's our World Cup. So really grateful to partner with the California Surf Club and have the president CEO of LA Galaxy and LA Sports Council for that conversation on April 13th. So
nice.
it's a lot. So we hope people will come engage and celebrate with us, because we're working really hard to show the best in class leaders across those topics. So hopefully someone takes home something from everyone, and wisdom and a pearl to help us during these challenging times of pivots and what's next, and kind of sometimes not knowing, but going to an evening like this and meeting a new business, partnership, a person and a friend.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Shore Capital. In today's venture capital world, it's not just about cash. It's about relationships. Capital is harder to find, limited investors have fewer managers that they can trust, and the industry is just filled with far too much hype. Shore Capital is an early stage venture fund investing in the world's most ruthlessly iterative founders, helping its limited partners to find founders who are solving the world's most dynamic problems, teams that excel in mastering the idea maze, teams moving with a rapid, iterative velocity and demonstrating radical resourcefulness. Shore Capital doesn't just write checks though. They become fractional co-founders when needed, offering strategic support, high leverage relationship development, and a deep commitment to the long-term success of their portfolio companies. If you are a ruthlessly iterative founder with a bold vision, or a limited investor seeking sustained access to the brightest big thinkers of our time, Shore Capital wants to meet you. So visit shorecapital.notion.site to learn more.
That's awesome. It's funny. There's a phrase that's been bouncing around the last couple of weeks. I heard it. I did not come up with this. I just heard it somewhere about this might be the first time in history, like in our lives, our lifetimes. I'm older than both of you, by the way. That might be the first time in history that none of us know kind of like what's going to happen 10 years from now. Right. Like there was always obviously things we didn't know. Right. But there were kind of foundational things that were always kind of true. And we seem to be kind of untethered in an era right now where we might all just not know what's coming. And so I love that you guys are leaning into like creating exploratory conversations, I should say, around that type of stuff. I mean, although I will say, like, you might not wind up with many like LAFC fans or executives in the building when you do that meeting with the Galaxy people. But hey, you can do another one downtown.
We welcome all. So we welcome everybody.
If you can bring the LA Galaxy and the LAFC people together, that would be groundbreaking, right? That would be awesome. Ben, tell me this, like salesman to salesman here a little bit, right? Like you named a couple, you've tipped a couple in examples of who have supported, partnered with you, sponsored previous events that you guys have done. Give me a profile, or hell, if they're just names of organizations that you guys would love to work with that you haven't worked with yet, like who's the types of organizational sponsors or event partners that you guys are looking for?
So, really anyone that has an issue with their business that's not confined to their business, I think would be the best way of putting it. Okay. I'll give you an example. When I had a meeting with a video MCN, a multi-channel network founder that does creators, and they're really big into the social media content creator world. We met and he was like, "Oh, I hate paying taxes in LA, and the talent and the rules and the regulations, et cetera, et cetera." And it was obviously very important to him, but I said, "How involved are you? Do you ever go, are you a chamber member? Are you a member of any other business association?" No, he had never engaged before. But he didn't realize that, all the different, economic development issues are his issues. He never really thought about it like that. Talent is workforce development. Creators are workforce development. Economic development is his ability to prosper in the city that he's doing business in. So once we have that conversation and he realizes, oh, this is just way bigger than my business, my competitors, clients, etc., then you get into that real partnership mindset. And then from there, the partnership is easy.
No, I love that. I'm curious, both of your opinions on this next one, but Michelle, maybe take the lead on it if you can. It's the proverbial, like, okay, business owner, visionary, entrepreneur, what's the vision? Like, what does Community Collected look like if it develops idealistically over the next 5 years? Like, what am I talking to you guys about in 2030 when I have you back on the show and you're talking about what community collective means in Los Angeles in 2030? What's the growth picture for you, Michelle?
Scalability and solutions, and creating an ecosystem where businesses, both Fortune 500 companies, entrepreneurial companies that get embedded and birthed in these respective cities, and then cities themselves come to us and our expertise in really helping them build and paint a picture forward. So I hope that is a wonderful combination of business leadership, members, community, summits, experiences that, people can really plug and play. And it won't be just LA, it will be north and south. And that's why, I'm very excited about, this sort of global perspective and opportunity that we're really seizing with, international businesses and a lot of the different, relationships we have with different consulates and, what's about to come our way, with this moment in time, with the activity across our cities. So really excited to explore that and be a solution and the trusted source. And
I love that.
The trusted source to really understand what's happening, give people a purview, and know how to connect the dots and create, these sorts of conversations and do more. We've been speaking to, cities about white papers and how we could really not just have an impactful conversation, but maybe do a series of more, workshops and different types of, methodologies that could really benefit a corporation to really move business forward.
That's awesome to hear about these international relationships and kind of this aspiration to help essentially build business development relationships for international people. I think about the alumnus of our show, Thomas Lugstrup Reeves, and his agency Traction. Ben, I think you know them. Or you've met Thomas. He's an awesome dude. He's a former guest. He was on the show last year, or actually 2024, I think maybe. But that's a tremendous opportunity, right? I mean, when you think about LA as the 17th largest economy in the world, if it were a country, we all talk about how large California is, but Los Angeles in and of itself would be an economy equivalent to Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, right in that span right there. So that's terrific. I love to hear that. Thanks for sharing that. I'm curious.
I'll give you some fun facts, Rob, quickly.
Please, go for it.
I actually am British, so I was born in England. And there's the most amount of Brits that live in Santa Monica. So I've become very close with the British entire government and their associations. And it's been a real privilege to get to know them and get to keep my roots around.
And
Michelle,
they're the number one. They're also the number one economic investor and employer.
I was just going to say, and Michelle, Ben, I know you know this guy, but Ben or Michelle, you probably know, or you may already, you may be about to know, my friend and another former alumnus of the show, James Cummings from London and Partners.
Oh.
And what James and his London and Partners team are doing to link London and Los Angeles is amazing. And they are great.
Can't wait till their summit in May. That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, no, they're doing amazing things. They've got a great team, and James is also my English Premier League soccer buddy on WhatsApp on the weekends. So it's awesome. I'm curious. It's a little bit of a personal question. We've only got a few questions left before we get you guys on with your day, but just a little bit of a personal question. How did you two meet?
I think, Ben and I have always been in similar industries and have always supported one another from afar. And had great conversations and meeting of the minds of how to really support one another. We always I think Ben always says, it's always right when you left that company, I almost ended up working there. So I feel like we almost crossed paths multiple times, and maybe you could hear Ben's side of the story, but, I basically, every event that I had, he was there, and he, was telling me, we would meet after almost every event, and then, really gave me some great insight. And I thought, what a great opportunity to partner with someone to really amplify and really build something that, can just be built across not just one city, multiple cities and state and beyond. So it's great to find, your yin to the yang to really build bigger, better, and create impact and have more fun.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really fascinating because I haven't really known anyone else that has the exact same mix of background that I have. Both Michelle and I come from the music and media and entertainment space, and both of us pivoted into economic development. I don't know anyone else beside us who's had that same career trajectory. And at the same time, we've had multiple mutual friends that have said, "Hey, you should meet Michelle. Hey, you know who you should meet? Ben." And, it was just a matter of time. And eventually we did.
That's awesome. I'm curious. There's so much going on, right? There's so much change happening. You've highlighted, Michelle, wonderfully articulated some very specific kind of catalytic events or occurrences. But thinking more in the macro, there's just so much change kind of going on in business, in technology, in society, et cetera. In that spirit, maybe Ben, grab this and run with it, and then Michelle, fill in if you feel there's some added context you want to add. But like, what's a cultural or an industry, maybe business, not industry specific, but kind of a broader business or cultural shift, Ben, that you see that's happening right now that maybe most people aren't noticing yet, but that you guys really believe is like, oh no, this shift is happening and people aren't seeing it yet, but we're seeing it. And we believe that's going to be hugely important for the next decade. And that's why we're leaning into this. What might that be, Ben?
Well, you touched on a couple of things. One is the, unspoken understandings or misunderstandings that are really the foundation for partnership development. And then there's also the practical, well, what is that thing? The what is that thing is AI. That's part of it. It's shaping our behavior. It's really optimizing. I mean, Michelle and I, thank God, we don't do, we're only a 2-person team and people are shocked by the volume of what we get done thanks to AI. But on the other hand, I think when it comes to developing partnerships, and this goes back, Rob, when you were talking about the role of music and arts in our culture, it's not just that they're so important and and music in the schools is so vitally important. It's not only do their contributions matter, but as entrepreneurial thinkers, they matter. They see the world in a fundamentally different way because Michelle is a classically trained pianist and I am play bass and I am a trumpeter. We are able to kind of see the gaps and think in a third dimensional way that the people that are non-creative don't really think about. And what I mean is that a lot of partnerships, a head of policy or a head of external affairs, a chief communications officer, they won't think to reach out to someone who doesn't contribute to their bottom line, what their compensation is based off of. They need a reason. However, a CEO who might be an entrepreneurial thinker, they look at the world in a different way. They see in between. They say all these different areas are affecting our business. And I think people that come from a music and arts background are able to see those things in a better way. So I love that. Yeah, those are the kind of the two observations: AI and embracing music and arts to get you to see the world in a different way.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at eSudo. Running any business, but especially a law firm, means balancing a lot. And technology, frankly, shouldn't be a headache. eSudo makes information technology and cybersecurity simple for law firms large or small. With over 20 years of experience, they specialize in everything from Microsoft 365 management to advanced cybersecurity solutions. They help you to stay ahead of threats, manage your data securely, and keep your tech running smoothly so that you can focus on what matters most, your clients. eSudo understands the legal industry's unique needs, offering tailored solutions to ensure that your firm is always in compliance and always protected. Are you ready to upgrade your firm's technology or get help with your questions? Visit esudo.com.
Hey, Michelle, I want to ask you a personal question. This wasn't really part of the script, but I would be remiss if I didn't give you a chance to kind of talk about it, because I feel, it's just my feeling as an outsider who's just met you today, that what I'm about to talk about with you really does inform a lot of not just what the community collective is, but also just how you look at things. Like, you're a survivor, like you're a fighter. You've gone through some real traumatic things in your life recently. And I know pretty soon here, I don't know the exact date because I've been living in my little bubble here in my apartment with my knee injury for the last 4 months, and I've lost all sense of time. But I know that soon you have coming up, like you're giving a TED talk locally, and I've been watching that journey kind of unfold, and I have mad respect for you. But tell us a little bit about kind of how the adversities that you have faced in your life fairly recently kind of inform your passion for wanting all of us to essentially come together to create a better life.
Yeah. Well, I'm 90 days after, and I think I'm 125 days before my TED Talk. So don't ask. That habit started right before graduating law school. I started tracking the days. So, I think these are all moments in awakening. I've always been, one who embraces a challenge. Last year was my Phoenix Rising year, literally from watching our city and just knowing that was going to be my new calling. I actually did a post today because it was really full circle moment. I read that ULI report, which led me to pivoting into the insurance space and being in, helping to contribute, finding solutions to rebuild. And, to the end of the year when I had my own personal aha moment. But, I'm excited to really, I look at things really systematically and strategically, where time is our most valuable asset. And I've always been very service oriented, living a life of service. I'm an arts commissioner. I'm on a state board for cosmetology and barbershop. That's my life. That's the ecosystem that, I love doing purposeful work that really can make a difference and change a city and community and how people feel, help people. It's that simple. So, I'm really grateful that, through hardship, I've been able to pick up and continue rising. And I hope that people can learn from what I'm trying to now really prove in a really scientific way, the discipline of joy and what that could look like, as we look at these amazing systems that have been built from Malcolm Gladwell and, 10,000 hours to really be a master at something, the 40-hour work week, and, James Clear's Atomic Habits, to really looking at the discipline of joy. And you only have so many hours in a day. So how are you using that time? And not having to have a wake up call or a tragedy or trauma or, UCLA law, from graduating there to, going there and experiencing their amazing first-class, hospital, to now doing my TED Talk on their stage on, July 26th. That was manifested in my hospital bed as like basically my New Year's resolution, as I was there taking care of, a medical situation. So, I think that these awakenings can happen, and sometimes stillness and a moment of going to something different or engaging in a different community or having a more vulnerable conversation can change the whole trajectory of your life. So I hope that I can create a system that anyone can take home and really apply and integrate into their life. So I'm looking for leaders, scientists, researchers, grateful for UCLA Health to, I've met them in the last few days and really doing my due diligence to figure out what this discipline of joy, how many hours do we have in a day, to really live our most purposeful, alive selves. And that comes with joy. That doesn't just come from working harder. It's like finding a business partner that you can really build something that can scale and change cities. That would be the most rewarding experience, and a legacy left behind that, you can create together. So that's kind of been my journey, and excited to embrace this moment of the discipline of joy. Do joy.
Do more of it. I love that. I'm all for that. And we should, and do that in your business, do that in your civic engagement, and do that in our politics. Like, good for
Flip
you.
Discipline on its head, because then if it's fun, then you're not going to worry about a discipline. It's just a habit of something you want to do every day.
My dad used to say, right, all this stuff is too hard. If you're not having fun with it, go find something else to do. One last question before we get to our very last segment question. This is just kind of a quick one. I'm curious. I just want to give you guys a chance to talk about it, right? You've got a Santa Monica bent because of your focus there. Ben has always been Mr. Beverly Hills, but you guys you're doing stuff in downtown LA. Like, talk to me briefly why the Community Collective can deliver value or be valuable to bringing together community conversations that catalyze to action down in Long Beach or down in Orange County, or as you kind of alluded to, kind of a statewide ambition, right? Or global relationships. Like, talk, because there's a lot that we talk about, Ben, Michelle, that is Los Angeles, like the greater metropolitan area and Southern California. And that's always true, right? Well, but also we've got, 88 different cities and very different politics and different agendas and different ambitions in different places. And so talk to us a little bit about that. Maybe Michelle, take it first and then Ben.
I'll say it's the connected tissue. And it's really having those conversations, and from the ones leading the charge in that city and understanding what they're trying, what are they developing, what's happening from the heartbeat of the city, and then building around. So it was very intentional to do something in Long Beach last year. They have amazing things happening, amphitheater, 11 Olympic sports games coming, huge businesses, same thing in Culver City. And we try and really have conversations with cities first and then kind of design around it and architect something, with the blessing of those partners, kind of challenging us. It takes time. It takes years. It's taken months and months of conversations before we actually set up shop and say, this is our event. It's not a 2-3 month thing. So I'll turn it over to Ben. But I think having those, thought provoking and showing that we offer value that really, helps us, do something respectfully in that community. That's added value.
Yeah. Ben, anything to add to that?
That was all very well said. Yeah, I would just say that, any city is capable of being a great city. And there's a lot of cities there. I think we can bring value by bringing the public and private sector to further social impact. That's kind of our byline. And doing that in any kind of city across the country or the globe. But at the same time, there are countless cities and city representatives that come up to us and say, hey, we're struggling. We're like one of those drive-by or flyover cities, but we want to make something happen. We want to build something here at home and create something. We're of service to those people as well.
All the folks from all over the place that are listening will know. All right, last question. If someone's building a new community or they want to build a movement, right, or a local initiative in their city or their neighborhood, but they don't know where to start, what are the 3 most practical steps that they should take first?
Well, what do you love and what do you enjoy? I started, arts and culture was ingrained in me. I'm a trained concert pianist, and my parents always took me to museums and performances, and I love dance. So I, came up with an idea with a business partner to start a salsa series on the Santa Monica Pier. That led me to joining the Arts Commission, but I was getting to know the different organizations, the Broad Stage, all the amazing things in my city, attending more events. And then I realized, I want to contribute in a larger scale to really help my community. And then I said, you could become a commissioner. This is how, I think I could give back. So I think understanding there's so many great YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs. So really identifying and volunteer, it could be that simple, tied to nature, sustainability, whatever that might be. There's so many wonderful causes that just just determine what it is, how many hours that you can create impact and you're most fulfilled with that impact, and then see where it goes. Because I think it's a journey. Yeah. No one tells you you're going to, join an arts commission, you're going to, apply to, a state board role, but or end up trying to help rebuild, a community. Yeah. And now I'm planning to do a music program with the Palisades at Pali High this fall with Jimmy Dunn. But it goes back to my music. It goes back to my passion, my purpose, hearing where you fit in and can lend your skills and be most fulfilled.
Lean into the joy, lean into what you love, find what you love, think about that, lean into the joy of it, and then look for opportunities to volunteer. In that community, in those things.
I'm tango dancing now, so maybe tango will be the next in Santa Monica.
But Michelle, this is a whole other podcast we don't have time for today. But I will tell you, the host of this podcast, was once a champion salsa dancer in Phoenix, Arizona, back in a much younger time in my life.
We'll have to talk offline on that.
So that's a whole other conversation. But hey, I just want to say, like, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much to both of you. I was super curious. Michelle, you reached out and instigated this. I loved it. Ben, I was like, holy cow, my God, Ben is involved. This is exciting. I would love to talk to you guys. As I always say, this show selfishly first is satisfying my own curiosity about the people in our community and in the world community at large that are, I think, entrepreneurial thinkers, which just essentially means like we're thinking about the things that we face and that we tackle and the opportunities we have differently, innovatively, freshly, with new energy, with new different passion. So you guys epitomize that. I'm super grateful to have learned about the Community Collective and to have exposed you to our audience and our community so that people who are now thinking like, I need somebody to help me instigate that, right? I need a partner to work with to try and extrapolate my vision for our part of our community or our industry. Now they'll know how to find you guys. So on that, how do people find you? What's the website, the social media, whatever?
Yeah, you can find us on onlinecommunity-collective.org, or you can find us on LinkedIn. That's the best way, because you can not only reach Community Collective Association on LinkedIn, but also Michelle and I separately as well.
Awesome. That's terrific.
And always remember the value, like, you mentioned that, Rob and Ben, your relationship together, the old school sort of formation of a true relationship, because you never know in life.
You never
so I
know.
think the power of that relationship and partnership, that's the essence of, how you build something on a strong foundation.
100% true. Thank you for finishing with that amazing punchline, because Lord knows in the 6 or 7 years that Ben and I have known each other, we have seen each other through lots of change. So that is the hallmark. I will always be in Ben's corner. And now I'm excited to say I will always be in the corner of Community Collective. So I'm sensing a Community Collective podcast someday in the future. We'll have to talk about that offline. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Good speed with the rest of your day, and we're really grateful for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it. As always, we thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's show was recorded here in Los Angeles and produced by the incomparable Deanna Bernal in Mexico City. We can only grow this show by you listening and sharing the show with friends. So please find, like, follow, subscribe, and share our audio-only show on Spotify, Apple, or via any other popular podcasting platforms, as well as find the video version of our show now available on our YouTube channel over at Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And of course, you can follow along on our various social media platforms for fun and informative clips and content at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, wherever you can find us. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at I Am Rob Ryan on just about any social media platform. Gracias, thank you, and have an awesome day.